In a Halima Halakarosi and a Kishtara, God says that the ways of man were the ways that brought nothing good, and all the things of man are the things that God chose man brought nothing good. For your mother God giveth unto man a world that asks nothing of man. And the world asks nothing of man. For the world giveth and taketh nothing. And all who came into this world saw what everyone else saw, that the world gives everything of itself to man. Man give nothing back to the world. It has always been the way of man. It has always been the sinful way of man. For except man's eyes showed him what he was given to see, he could not have known. That giving was always the way to the ways of the God that are great and mighty. Man went the wrong way. He went the other way. He did not seek to give, but he sought to receive. And the more he received, the more he wanted. And the more he wanted, the more desperate he became to do whatever it takes to get what he wanted. And that is what your Father, Mother God has been showing all the children of God. When man begins to take and to take, he moves himself further and further from giving. And every way that he continues to take and to take, he loses the divine within himself. The children of God did not understand why they were told that nothing in this world belongs to anyone. For there are many of the children of God who follow the wayward ways of the tribes of earth. And they not only wanted to own, they also wanted to control. And so the children of God found themselves moving further and further away from the divine within themselves. And every way they became like the many tribes of earth. And they lost the way to know who they are. There are many who went saying, we came from this and we came from that. And there are many who said we belonged here because we were the first here. And there were many who also proclaimed that everyone else came from them. And God looked at the children and asked the children. So God did not create different types of human beings. God did not create you to show you that you are a different type of human being. And if all the other types of humans came from you, how do you explain where all the different types of creatures of the deep and fowls of the air and beasts of the field came from? From which one species did all other species come? And so your God says to you, you know, son, the children themselves have been in darkness And because they had not the divinity of your mother and your father within them, they found themselves lost in the darkness like all the other tribes on earth. For your God heard them say, they all came from us. And God watched at the children and asked of the children. So God did not create anything different. It is you who created them different to the way they are. And if they all came from you, why don't they look like you? Why don't they behave like you? Why don't they think like you? And why is it that you have been given to see that wherever they dwelled in their own lands, in their numbers, you don't dwell in the same numbers like they do? And why is it that you found yourself in different lands, in different parts of earth? So you must tell our children, you have all gone the wrong way like all the tribes of earth. And you have been deceived by deceiving spirits. For many of our children did not know that in all the ways that their lands became polluted with evil, that it produced evil spirits that were deceivers unto them. And in all the lands of the children of God, they called on all these deceiving spirits as their gods. And you must ask them, if you came here as gods from the sun, how is it that you are going to worship lesser gods in this valley that is called earth? And so all the children of God went so wayward that they had not known how it is that they found themselves in the way of the downtrodden, from gods, kings, queens, rulers. They have become the downtrodden on earth. And they cannot know why it is that they are unable to rise up again and become the great and mighty people that they were. And you must let them know that it is because of your disobedience to the sacred and divine principles that were given unto you that you were no longer able to manifest from yourself that generating omnipotent power from which you were created that made you gods. For the children must know that the word God was given to all of mankind so that they may be able to recognize that there is something that exists, that existed, greater than them and everything else that existed. And so whenever they called on the word God, they didn't understand what the word God meant, because they went calling on gods that they had no knowledge of. For God represents that omnipotent power that exists, existed, and will continue to exist, that generated from itself every other power that was given to be subordinate to it. And that is the whole process of our life. The omnipotent power that generates itself in all the ways that it gives it to be, that it may work in the way in which it was generated to work in. And that is the reason why man generates from himself that which comes forth like himself. It is the same principles of his thoughts. His thoughts generate thoughts that generate things. And so the concept of God being the all in all is all that there is. The omnipotent power generating itself, giving that which it is generated to work in the order in which it is given. And this is true of everything. So whenever God is the all in all, that is what it means. God is that omnipotent power generating itself over and over again in any form, in every dimension, in any way, but always in the way in which it is given to work. And all of mankind went assuming that they understood and knew who or what God is or meant. It is the promise of your God that in the end the truth will be known, and it is to be known. For every way that man knoweth not that in this generating power he is a combination of vibrations and frequencies working in different types of rhythms. And it is in all the ways that he was given to understand why it is he searches for pulses and heartbeats. He is looking for the generating frequencies and vibrations that work in a specific rhythm. All these things were not known to men because man did not understand who he is. And when he did not understand why he was told he was made in the image and likeness of his Creator, he didn't understand that he comes forth from an omnipotent power that generated itself into different forms and dimensions, and that it works in the same principle that its source works in. So all things that exist in the world, that is of the world, that is the world, consist of this principle that is not known to men. We always say to you that the world is in darkness, and it is. For darkness represents the ignorance of man in the way in which he seeks to interpret what he could not understand. And all men sought to interpret what they didn't understand, because no man had the divinity within himself to enable him to interpret things that were higher than he is. For everything that is generated becomes subordinate to that which it is generated from. And so the whole process of man's existence keeps showing him that there are things that are lesser than himself. And in every species that exists on this earth, the same principle exists. And that is why they all bring forth that which is of themselves. Every tree that bears a fruit that has a seed brings forth that which is of itself. It is this principle of omnipotent power generating itself that is the way that God exists as the all that there is. There's so many things that your father and mother God did not share with the children, because the children of God lost the trust of God and followed the wayward ways of a wayward world. In every way that they did not keep faith with your mother God, nor with your father God, children were unable to defend themselves against the onslaught of evil that came forth from those whose corrupt generation power led to the corruption and decay of all things around. Whenever you say to them, they are not of you, nor are you of them, it is the way that you are saying to them, they dwell in an altered set of vibrations and frequencies that distorts everything that is in of them and from them. And that is why the children find it very hard and difficult to believe how they could be the way they are. And God knew that the children did not understand. They are marked that way. You cannot change them. You will not change them. In the same way that you cannot change a banana to become a pineapple. You cannot change them. And the children believed that they can change themselves. And God says, don't you have eyes? Don't you not see? Can a dog change itself to become a cat? Can a lion change itself to become a sheep? They cannot change themselves. For everything that you are given to see that is shown to you tells you it is marked in that way. For anything that is generating itself cannot change itself. It must be the way in which it is given to be. And so all of the world demonstrates to man the same principle. Everything is marked in the way in which you see it. It cannot change itself. For it will generate only that which is of itself, and that which is of itself that is generated will behave the way in which the source from which it came behaves. And so it is foolish for the children of God to believe that there can be change. And God had told them that once something has changed from its generating ways to other generating ways, it cannot change back. It cannot change back. And everyone went believing that they understood what was told to them. And so God says to you, tell all of our children, in this new awakening that has come, you must let the scales fall from your eyes and see things not for what you would like them to be, but for what they really are. See people not for what you would like them to be, but for what they really are. Because God told them, there is none so blind as he who would not see. Not that you can't see, you would not see. And every way that they must come to the realization, the recognition that God is true to every word God has said to them, they must know why they were told, whatever way you have gone, that violated the principles which you have been taught, turn away from them. Turn away from them. For these are not the ways of a divine Mother God and a divine Father God. For your greatness can only return to you when you return back to the order and balance and the state of harmony that allows all things that are resident in you to begin to surface from within you. For it is God's promise unto you all that whatever you had lost, you will regain. Seek not the things outside of yourself. Seek only the things that are within you. For every way that you must return back to knowing yourself, you must return back to what you were, who you were when you first came to be in this valley. Ye are all God's. Find that which is of yourself, that is of that omnipotent power generated within you. For then you shall know your greatness, and then you shall know the way in which you were gods and rulers that came to this valley of Jehoshaphat.